Welcome, welcome. It is time for Writer's Circle again. Hi, Jelita, ¿cómo estás? Hace rato no he
I
visto.
know.
No, you're back. We're back. It all is
It's
good.
been an eventful first couple of months of the year.
And congratulations. I'm sorry to hear it. Yes.
More sorry. More, yeah.
Okay. Well, I will give you a hug.
Yeah.
Jelita and I share a town so that we can do that in person. Um, Welcome back. Um, Not everybody knows everybody here, but you know that we always show up for each other and we show up for ourselves and we show up for our stories. So, um, it's the beginning of March. I don't know who's taken 2025 and like taken it around the block already. I have no idea. But it's fantastic opportunity. Over the weekend was a new moon. We have a new month. Or dark moon. There's a woman in our community. She's like, it's not new, it's dark. And so sometimes we just need to like settle into the darkness. But it is a new month. Um, I love this cyclical process because again and again, we get offered opportunities to explore, re-examine, and reflect. And the ends of things are beginnings of things, and the beginnings of things are ends of things. So as we always explore some part of this process, I really feel like I want to share something with you. If that takes 5 minutes, cool. If it takes the whole time, also cool. But really looking at beginnings being ends and ends being beginnings, and taking a moment to debrief, meaning what are the metrics? If your writing process, if your story journey were a business and we were having a team meeting, you yourself and I and your fear and your doubt and your cynicism and your perfectionism are all around a board meeting table. Let's check in. What are your metrics of what are you measuring? I don't even want to say metrics of success because I don't know that I think that makes it wonky a little bit. At the beginning of February and at the beginning of the year, I asked each of you who are on the call to sort of set what your goals were. But do we know how we measure those goals? And so I really want you to be thinking about metrics on two different levels. Metrics for your process and metrics for your product. Have you ever thought of those as separate things? Have you ever examined? We talk a lot about process here, but when we set goals, a lot of the time, our goals are product based and not so much process based. So I want you to reflect back, even if you didn't have clear metrics or goals a month ago. Do you know what you set out to do in the month of February? How do you feel about what you did? And then the way we talked in the middle of the month about your to-do list versus your done list. The to-do list will never stop. But I do want you to look back on the month of February and say, okay, I did do this, I did do this, and I did do this as part of our debrief process. And then using those metrics and some of that reflection, let's redo the process for the month of March. What do we want to accomplish? And how do we want to show up? Does all that make sense? What does that stir for you? Are you excited about metrics? Are you excited about debrief? If there's something that you think you're going to discover in this process, or do you want to go back to bed? Or both?
I can start.
Perfect.
Yeah, I actually like metrics because they help me have a goal, like an objective goal, a measurable goal.
Yeah.
And they help also to keep me accountable. Like, okay, I said I was gonna do this. Let's try at least,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna talk about the month of February because it was a very sad
Fair enough.
month.
Okay.
So, and I I didn't do anything since December because I was waiting for the feedback.
Yep.
So I decided just to, let it be.
Yeah.
Then I got it on February on the week where bad things happened. So, the month has been for me to recover. Someone really close to me passed away. So, it's been hard.
Yeah.
And this is why I said, well, now it's a new month and I have the feedback from the editor. So I'm gonna, just let's do this. So my goal this month is actually to sit down at least, I would say 2 hours per week and actually see what the editor has had to say and work on it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This Friday in Laureles, I'm doing our writers group. So if you're around from 10 to 12 on Friday, I will be there. I'm doing exactly the same thing. I got some feedback from lovely people in this community, Carol included, and I've set some time aside. It's there and I'm tempted to go read it all, but I need the time. So you're welcome to
Perfect.
do that shoulder to shoulder if you want.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're back. I'm sorry you had a hard month. I think metrics are really amazing. I work with a coach, as everybody should. And at the end of a call, if I don't have three, like massive action items to focus my attention and energy, then I can just go out. But I need like this, and this are the things to channel my energy, and I can create momentum with that. And so one of the reasons we're talking about process and product metrics is so that at the end of this call, you will have some clarity about where to put your attention and your energy in this coming month. Anybody heard of the 80-20 rule? Everybody heard of the 80-20 rule? If you're nodding, Carol, what's your understanding of the 80-20 rule?
So 80%, this, you're taking me way back, and I have to apologize. I don't know how long I can stay. I'm flat out exhausted, babysat for the last 2 days, and then got a surprise pop in from my grandson who's napping right now. So
As you can.
yeah, it's awesome, but I'm just like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
flat out tired. But you're taking me way back. So 80% of your energy is spent on like 20% of the things that you actually get done. Is kind of how it's looked at.
Yeah. And then looking at it also from a results standpoint, like your biggest wins come from usually not the biggest actions, right? And so if you look at like where were your wins and deconstruct it, so we can like have our energy go and get this much result, or we can say these actions got these results. I'm gonna not do some of the other stuff and really focus on. I did this in business some years back, and I attended 3 conferences. The conferences themselves were a little bit meh, but I met a lot of people, and those connections over the next 5 years became incredibly valuable. And so I use that information to determine where I show up and who I connect with and yada yada. Public speaking gets me a lot. Connecting with real people in real life gets me a lot. So I learned to do more of the stuff that gets me the bigger wins. So when we can look at process and product in terms of what's working, then we can bring that information into the next month and focus on the things that we feel like will get us the biggest wins. Does that make sense? Hi, Jennifer. So reflecting on last month, do you remember what your goal was? And if not, that's okay. Sometimes we don't remember. How will you assess your progress or just how you're showing up for your process and product? Being word count or I rested, I planned.
Yeah, I can go. I mean, mine was to reorder my chapters and really try to make some progress on the flow, because when I started doing it, it almost felt like a how-to book. It was like, oh, now you do this and now you do that. And it was just the so I did that. I mean, I redid the chapter layout and order. I actually printed what I had written the other day. So that's like my March goal, is to print what I have actually read it from a reader's point of view and see if the new flow that I put in actually makes more sense.
Awesome.
I sat down, I read the first chapter yesterday when my grandson was napping, and I'm like, oh, well, this isn't bad. It's still my shitty first draft, and it is shitty, but it's not as shitty as I thought it
Great.
was. So,
Amazing.
yeah, so that's my goal for, and I wrote it down while we were doing that because I'm a goal person too. I mean, I grew up with the SMART goals and metrics, and you got to have all that. So it was like just get chapter 3, 4, 5, 6 done in an order that you actually are comfortable with. So
Amazing.
fingers crossed.
That's great. Okay, so in case you do have to go spontaneously, or you're just exhausted and you want to tap out, both are fine. At the end of the month of March, Carol,
Yes.
what would feel like, okay, I did that. Yes, I wanted to do more, but I did that and I feel good about it. Having printed out and read those chapters? Or-
I think I would want more, like I want to have it printed out. I really want to like like I did chapter 1, 2, and most of 3, but then the order was wrong. So now 3 is really more like 5 or 6. So I want to get those in between chapters solidified.
Yeah.
And then if I can get those solidified and printed by the end of the month, I'd feel like I'm pretty well into the book at that point. Like it would start to feel like I'm maybe in my 3rd trimester if we go along the baby route. Like I'm like
Awesome.
actually getting closer to delivering that shitty first draft. So if I could
Got
do
arms
that,
and
March,
legs.
that'd be huge.
Amazing.
That'd be huge.
Okay. Will you do you and me a favor
Yes.
in the next 36 hours? Post a note to yourself in the school community with that goal so that at the end of the month we can come back to it and
Okay.
see where you are.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else has this, but I set a goal and then I forget what the goal is. And so I have like a moving target that I never know if I like crossed the finish line. And hope, and we'll try to help remind you, but it'll be there emblazoned on ones and zeros on the internet. So that
Yeah, if I write it down, I'm more likely to get it done than if I just kind of remember it up here. Yeah.
And between process and product, what do you think you need more support around this month?
Probably the product side. I'm a very
Okay.
process oriented person. I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up analyzing processes and redoing them. So the process side, I feel really good.
Okay.
Writing is new to me. And so it's more on the product side that's the support that I need.
Awesome. When you're ready, and it does not have to be this month, but when you're ready or when you're stuck, which are 2 different ways of saying the same thing, feel free to call in a little bit of help. Okay.
Okay.
Say, hey, I've got 2 or 3 chapters that I'm struggling with, or, I have this idea on a Post-it and I don't know how to get from here to there. Whatever the thing is, or you feel like you've lost the plot and you're like, I need somebody else to tell me what's forest and what's trees. That's what this space is for. I'm for, the community at large is for. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Good. I'm going to ask everybody all the same questions. So metrics, goals, process, and product. Jennifer, you had some progress, right? Sure. I know it's in there somewhere. If I
Couldn't
do
find
that-
my mute button there.
I know.
Had myself on a
Okay.
weird screen. So I finally, after 10 versions of my mind map, I came up with one. I said, I'm just going to settle on something and kind of go with it. And it feels more right than the other ones did. And that was just to, for my memoir, is about my journey with bipolar disorder. And I picked like 3, I call them catastrophes, like 3 big ways that it rocked my life, and let me write about those things. And then I can kind of like divide the book into those 3 main parts, I guess. And so that's kind of like the overall structure I have going. I started outlining yesterday. The 25-minute sprint suggestion was great. I was surprising how distracted I got and like didn't want to focus for 25 minutes. But so I restarted the timer a few times until I've got a real 25 minutes.
Amazing.
But that was incredibly helpful. And so I got a skeleton of an outline, like from start to finish, that needs to be filled in some more and just fleshed out. I one thing that has been coming up with my outline is I kind of don't know how detailed to make it. And I know there's probably no right or wrong, but I'd love to hear your advice on this. Do I keep it kind of bare bones and like these are the topics and subtopics in a couple of words? When I'm writing the outline, a scene that I want to write in the book comes to mind and I start writing a few sentences just so I get that down out of my head and I don't forget it. And then I think that it's becomes more drafting than outline writing. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is really common when we start to think, then our mind keeps thinking, right? And so it's reasonable to sort of get sucked up into the story. And if that works for you, and it's better than trying to shut it down and then losing it, because I don't know, I have like 3 things I need to get at the grocery store, and 2 of them I've messaged myself on WhatsApp because I can't remember, and then the third one I still can't remember, right? And so if trying to keep yourself to the, oh, I'm only outlining now, means you lose something that is catching you in inspiration, don't worry about it. One of the things I often do, you know that I'm a super fan of Post-its, so I do this, but when I'm digital, I will make a single document that is my outline that maybe is sort of like a table of contents, but then the heading is there. And then if I have ideas, they're just there because the draft is gonna start happening underneath the heading, right?
Right. I might make
And
2 versions then, like a more
yeah,
bare bones
absolutely.
one and a more filled out one.
And you can make the first one and maybe it's a little bit of both and you need to pare it back to make the outline, or it does not matter. You're absolutely right, there is not one right way. I find, though, and you're touching on something that I think is really important, we have an inner editor all the time. When we're drafting, we're like, where does a comma go? What's a semicolon really? All of that sort of getting in the way of flow. And if you're finding yourself that I'm supposed to be outlining right now, I'm not supposed to be doing this, that is another version of your inner editor trying to make you do it in a certain way. The way that you need is the way that works for you, right? And so some babies come out foot first, right? And then there's like, it doesn't all have to come out in a certain way. But when inspiration is striking you, I'm going to say something I usually don't say, don't cock block it, just like let it. If inspiration's striking, let it strike, right?
Thanks. Yeah.
If that makes
makes
sense.
sense.
And then if you need to rearrange things, you need to rearrange things, or make it a separate, like at the top of my document is my outline. And then here's my outline fleshed out with my
Another thing
thoughts
that
and my notes.
comes to mind, I don't want to take up too much time, but another thing that comes to mind is like, what is my voice going to be? What type of book is this? Is it a narrative telling my story, or is it a self-help memoir? And am I giving advice on how to cope if you have this disorder, that kind of thing? So
I think it's something that we all discover in the process.
Okay.
Those kinds of questions I leave at the top in like comment mode of like, what is this? What am I trying to do?
I have some bullets at the top of questions.
Who am I going to be? What is my purpose? And what is my voice role? Blah, blah, blah. There is a growing genre that is, it's a teaching memoir that is the love child of a memoir. And this is, I'm sharing this with you with the purpose and intention of offering guidance and support. It is not a how-to because life is not cut and dry. It's not so simple. And how-to, Carol doesn't want to write a how-to book. If you are hot and bothered for a how-to book, then that's the book you should write, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Carol shouldn't write a how-to book because it doesn't turn her on. Whatever is getting you excited is what you should pursue and explore. And finding our voice is something that happens in the drafting process, especially in the shitty drafting of like, oh, when I'm writing about this, this is how I sound. And when I'm writing about this, this is how I sound. And I like this part, right? I like the way this feels. I like the way I'm communicating here. I don't like that so much. And we can notice and weed that out. It's something that we're aware of because we're in this process together, but it is not necessarily something that you have to know ahead of time and dictate all the way through, if that makes sense. The voice is something that you can encounter, discover, uncover as you go through, because it's you, right? You're the voice. There's not like some alter ego that's going to show up, you know, my leather arm elbow patches, right? Like,
the way you described it in your draft that you sent me it made me laugh.
the old blowhard.
The elbow patches.
I really describe, I know exactly who this person is. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
notice if there's a voice that's coming in that's sort of intruding, and say, okay, I get that you're here and you're trying to keep me safe and you're going to talk from this place, but that's not, you just sort of like nudge them off the stage and take the mic back.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a bunch of more thoughts, but I'm going to reach out to my partner about those, my accountability partner, and not take up too much of the stage
Well,
here.
And always post. That's what
Yeah.
the community's for, right? Here's what I'm working on. Here's the phase that I'm in. Here are all of my questions. Have at it, right?
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Great. I'm so glad you're here. Who else? Process, product, metrics, reflecting on how we've been and where we're going. Hi, Erica.
Hello. So first of all, I just want to say to Jennifer, I'm really interested in your story already. So, and I also appreciated hearing how you are choosing like these three kind of moments, defining moments, to think about how you frame your story. So there's something in what you said that that spoke to me. So I'm going to think about what that means in terms of my own process in writing. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I would say I feel like actually feel like I've been a little stuck, and so I think my goal this past month was to do outlines for a majority of my chapters. What I would say is I met my January goal. My January goal was like title, audience, right? Like, and then the kind of the reader journey. I think what I've realized is that for me, the story is still unfolding a little bit in my own life. It's not done yet. And so I've realized this is why I think I was struggling with where I needed to go a little bit, because I'm like, it's still playing out in my life. And I feel like actually, and so I was feeling a little stuck, not necessarily like a little bit lost on my own kind of map and landscape. But I feel like just within the last probably like week or so, that I have new clarity. We'll see how long it lasts, about what it really is, and that is the story I want to tell, and how I tell it with this still evolving. And so I think I've figured out where I think a little bit like Carol, there's been some reorganization of what I thought the flow was. And I'm starting kind of at a different place that feels more relevant and powerful, actually. So my goal then for for March is from the place that I'm in to go back to my work on doing the outlining. And then I've also written like a couple of excerpts. I am definitely the person that's using the outline to be like, oh, here's a little snippet that I want to go in. And so even like this weekend, I didn't do a ton of writing, but I wrote like, 4 paragraphs of something that was related to, and I was like, I'm just going to drop this into the outline and the chapter. And like now I have like one document that has all of my, so that it feels like I'm starting to put together a quote.
Yes, you are.
book.
You are.
Yeah. So it feels a little bit more like that without these, like with the one pager. That was what I was focused on for quite some time, was the one pager. And
Yeah.
now I feel like I've moved from the one pager to here's the front page and the back page, and now you got to
Awesome.
start filling it.
And there's some middle stuff. I love it. Okay. That's
Yep.
super good. The same way I said to Carol, I encourage everybody to post in the community. Just this is like a mile marker of where I am and where I aim to be, to help the community, help keep you accountable, but also so that you've set an actual stake in the ground and this is what I'm aiming for, to help you arrive there. But also to make sure if you're 10 miles past that goal, that you recognize that you are 10 miles past that goal. And a lot of the time, I think we're making so much more progress than we realize and still just don't feel like we're doing enough. Anybody like, I'm just not doing enough and I should have been further and da, da, da. Ever heard that voice in your head about writing or life in general? Yeah. Okay. Me too. But it's really, really important that we have that, so that at the end we can say, oh, look, I did do the thing. Hot damn. Right. Get that this debrief, this whole today is to help us reflect, refine, and refocus to create momentum into the next cycle, right? To begin again with energy, ferocity, focus, even if the focus is, let's figure out what the hell my story is about. I'm in the middle of living it. I've been reflecting, just even trying to boil down something simplicity of like, what is writing your book? And right now I have it as, it's the equivalent of 4 years of therapy. It's like getting a high level degree and accomplishing a lifelong goal. Let's do that in like 9 months. Okay. And so, Erica, to your point of like, I'm not done yet. For me, done is dead. So like, I don't want to be done yet. Right. I'm very much in process, in progress, and discovering it along the way is absolutely a thing. All of these tools to get you to think about your message and your reader journey and your audience, all of those are to help focus, but it will change. Okay. I love, Jennifer, that you did 10 mind maps until you found something that like, oh, that makes sense to me. Many people will maybe never do a mind map, make an outline, write a book, and then be like, I don't know, what's this about? And doing some of that slower work at the beginning will help you figure out your container that will sing. It will make the process better for you in the long run. Process. And no amount of outlining, I hope, means that that's exactly what you write. I hope that in your drafting process, it will change and evolve. I trust your voice will evolve because by the end of the book, you will be the person who wrote that book. We're different at the end. It's massive personal transformation. It's massive professional transformation. And so I see people get stuck because I know we think we need to be that person to start, but we can't become that person until we start and fumble a bit. And so there's all of these systems and tools in place, but I don't want those systems and tools to prevent you from taking that action. This is where that 80-20 for me is really important. 20% of your actions will get you 80% of the results, right? We just need to know what those 20% are. You're coming to these calls regularly. You're engaging with your process. You are doing the job. That's it. And that story in your mind of you're not doing enough, shush, 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 shush. Love you. Go eat a marshmallow. Shush. Okay. Right. I am doing enough. And this is where 2 weeks ago we talked about not the to-do list, but the done list. And I just do one every month. And when I'm having oh God, I am shit at everything and I am not doing enough, I go look at all that I have accomplished, all the wins, all the great moments of the month. Sometimes they're like, I put my daughter on the bus at 6:30 and then I went back to bed. And I kid you not, that was like the best day I've had this year. So my wins can come in any shape and size, right? Winning a book award, taking a nap, these are all wins as far as I'm concerned. And my done list is part of how my metrics, if you're asking me, my metrics, it's what's on my done list. Because I lose the plot really easily and always I'm thinking about the next thing to do and don't have a full well feeling like, oh gosh, I have actually accomplished a lot. So whatever helps you feel like you're doing what you need to do and making progress is super important. Okay. Yeah, really help. What was so helpful to be reminded of, Erica?
I think the idea that we have to be at a certain place in order to write. Yeah, just that. We have to be in a certain place to write. It's like, no, the journey is always going to be
it's like
ongoing and we're
hiking.
transformed.
Yeah. You are not the person who's climbed those 14 footers, 14,000 footers, whatever they are, the big ones. You're not that person until you do the thing. Stace has done an Ironman, right? Ironman, half Ironman, something impressive, Ironman, right? You're not that person when you start. You believe that you can do the thing. So you do all of the steps that get you there. Becoming an author is exactly that. Okay. Again, this is why I love that it takes 10 months to give birth, because it takes like 9 months and 45 days to wrap your head around the fact that you're about to be a parent. And so it gives you some time to become that person. If it happened any faster, it would be rough. And this becoming the writer, becoming the author, it's a thing. So if you don't think of yourself as a writer now, I want you to start using I am a writer. If you need to update your email signature, writer, go ahead. Author is a next step. So if you're ready to use the word author, go for it. Jalitza and Stace, you're at developmental edit. You have done the words in a row. You are an author. And I want you to start putting that hat on and getting used to that identity. Okay. Because it is an evolution and it is a transformation. But we become that. It's not where you start. I'm not ready to tell my story. No, of course not. So go tell your story and you will become ready by doing the thing. Fantastic. Folks who have not shared, who would like to share, now is your chance. Metrics, process, product. How did February go? And where are we headed in March?
I'll go. So I love data. I'm a data nerd. So all metrics, most forms, I love it. And so to me, it's kind of like, do you remember those Magic Eyes pictures where you just had a bunch of dots, but you stared at them long enough and they became a total picture? I think of metrics and data that way. And so I love tracking anything because anything that's tracked can change. My metrics have changed for the month, and I have completed most everything. The reason that I haven't submitted for developmental editing yet is because I'm tying it to my brand and my personal development company. So I'm putting a little bit of lead magnets in the book so that by the time it gets to developmental editing, I'll be asking somebody to do a forward, making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and that's it. And so
I love it.
I'm excited, to your point of starting this session by saying I'm sort of closing that chapter. Like that's something that I'm finishing out, and I'm excited to start both the drafting of the chapter in mental, and also to explore the publishing process. And so getting ready to do the launch and marketing and writing.
Oh,
And I'm ready. You know, I'm coming back to Medellin on Saturday, and I've got kind of a list of like a to-do list. And what I've been doing while I'm here in the States is that I'm going to bookstores and seeing what they are doing, and if there's a way that I can present there, you know, do a 1 hour lecture and a signing. And I haven't asked them yet, but I've introduced myself so they know who I am and I'm in the neighborhood. And
Yeah.
so when they see my face, I won't be a stranger. And it's much harder to deny your friends things than it is a stranger. So
Yeah. This is such a good strategy with all things, social media as well. Become familiar before you ask for something.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely.
This,
And
I get a lot, I get 19 like hearts on Instagram, and then someone drops into my DM and is like, hey, and I'm like, nope, already no, right? Like, no. It's on Instagram, on dating, bookstore of like, I'm gonna buy 10 books and then I'm gonna ask you for a favor, or I'm gonna buy a muffin and see what you'll do for me. Build those relationships, because the relationships are gold. I love that you're doing that. Local author things. So like if when you're in your local places, even if you have 7 of them, you could be a local author. Panels. I just spoke with a bookstore in Colorado, because I have a cohort around Colorado. And she's like, do you have any Mother's Day kinds of things? I was like, oh, I don't know, like just a couple. And so she's like, great, hook me up with the authors of your mother related books. And I was like, done, done. And so bookstores are hungry for authors for live events. They want community. They want to do things that bring people in, because they're there competing with Amazon, right? So think about it from what do they need and how can you help them accomplish their goals. You come with a proposal that they can't say no to, and then they're like, yes, of course.
yeah, so I'm excited about that, and it seems to be going well. Everybody has been open and receptive, and so you know they're relatively new in the area also, so it's a little bit of a leverage to be able to say, hey, have you thought about trying something new? Let's try this together and see how it's received. But I'm excited for the next month, and I've got my goals lined up for March.
Good.
And then April hits pretty quickly after that.
Sure does. Life keeps happening. Awesome. Where, and this question's for anybody and everybody, where do you need support to feel like you're going to hit those metrics, process or product or both? It's a standing question, because this community is here to support. So as you're thinking about it, if it comes up on the call, cool. If it comes up and you need to post in the school community, cool. Say like, hey, I need process support with this particular metric, or I need product support. I need help. Excuse me, I've been sick since Thursday. Product support. I need somebody to help me read a chapter or talk me through this idea, or, you know, I'm in this phase and stuck about this, that, or the other. We're here. I personally, we, the team, and then the community at large of authors is here to support and uplift, the same way that, you know, Erica heard something that Jennifer said and that like sparked her. So Erica's lit, and Jennifer, I hope it felt really good to have somebody be like, I'm excited about your book topic, right? Like that, the ripple just goes everywhere. So we're here to support each other. Anybody who hasn't shared yet who wants to share about your process in the last month and where you want to go forward, product in the last month and where you want to go forward. A couple people are off camera and muted, so I just wanted to invite you. Brittany, you want to pop in here?
Sure.
Thanks, love.
I'm sorry, I sound really congested. I've been sick since Sunday, so
Feel you, sister.
um I guess February's been crazy. We had a family member go into the ICU, so trying to figure out family details and helping with rides and everything like that. And then I went on my honeymoon, and then
You had a birthday.
I did have a birthday, and it was a great birthday. So writing was a little bit challenging last month, but I didn't get achieve my goal, but I did have steps to achieving that goal. So making
Yeah.
my outlines for my 2 chapters, just trying to replay like how do I want my story to progress in these 2 chapters. And then I guess my metrics would be I haven't thought of the whole process metric. Since you brought that up, I'm like, oh, what is my process metric? I don't know. I was so focused on the product metrics. It's like, okay, if I see like I went up 500 words, that's good enough for me. And try not to put that heavy, like, oh, I need to be at 50,000 by like June. And I'm like, no, let's just do 500. That I could do that. Um, and I guess like from March, just having more progress to my word count and then just feel like good with what I wrote, even though it's a shitty first draft, but to really feel like this is progressing, this is a book that I would want to read. And then um let's see, trying to think. I guess my goal would be like trying to revisit my goal in February, just trying to have 10 chapters done and then have them revised a little bit. And then have
Is that a realistic goal, or does that feel like you're just setting yourself up?
I'm not sure because I feel like I can do that, but also it's
You have a
life's been
full-time
lifing.
job.
I do.
You have a full-time job. Life's been lifing. One of the things I know that we do is like we want to set big goals because we're taught to. And then there's some weird thrill about not meeting our goals because then we get to be self-deprecating, yada yada. And this is where that done list really feels really important. Like life is gonna keep lifing. There are no signs that it's gonna get simpler, right? And very few people do really well when they're just hard on themselves. Coming back again to this 80-20 rule, I look at the amount of energy I spend beating up myself. I'm like, what if I use that energy for anything else? Making brownies, taking a nap. Oh, I don't know, writing, snuggling with my daughter. I could use that energy for something else. And so the only reason I bring it up is because what if we set it at 8 chapters? Right? Like bring it back to something that's so doable. What if the goal is something that's so easy that you're gonna do it? And then you can have another one after that, and another one after that, instead of I'm gonna climb Everest. How does that
I
land
mean,
with you?
I'm almost done with the 8th chapter, so I mean.
Okay. All right. Well, and when Carola was on, I was like, what would feel good? Like at the end of the month, what if I had actually done this well, I'd be proud of myself.
I guess it was just be it's kind of hard to think about. For one, I'm really congested and I'm just dazing out right now.
Sudafed,
And
Sudafed. I can't think.
and
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
just like
Fair.
because I haven't really thought about that because I'm all like, okay, chapter 9, get that done. I'm very product oriented and
Yeah.
just the whole process has been like a whole different unknown
Yeah.
world to me that I am still trying to remember to rest and be like, okay, right now I'm in this phase, but it's okay to go back to phase 1 and like idolation and just think about stuff. And it's not necessary. I'm not working on my book, but I'm also just refreshing myself for better ideas to go forward with my book. So,
Yeah. It could be as simple as like just observing my process could be one of like, I'm just going to watch my process, just be aware that product is a thing, but also process is a thing. Just like bringing that language into your month is a goal, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to do anything with beyond that. That can be the objective, right?
yeah.
I never want to put process over product or product over process because I think they're so intertwined. But it's really easy in our mind to focus on word count or an end goal. And so I'll challenge you to wrestle a little bit with, because getting a chapter done and getting a chapter drafted and getting a chapter loosely drafted, like your worst drafted, is different than done. But those are slipperier measures, right? So, but if you have a sense of what that first mark is, then I want you to aim for that. If that does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And if it needs to be 10, go for 10. That's good. I just watch a lot of people set overly ambitious goals and then are surprised that life happened, right? Even though it's already on the calendar, right? Like, of course, like I can't do 90 hours worth of stuff because I already have 80 hours scheduled. So just check in with that. And I love that you're sick. It's an invitation. I mean it. I am too. This is an invitation for me to, I was like, oh yeah, I know I'm pushing too hard. I know I'm not slowing down. My body's like, okay, good. Well, let me facilitate this for you. Since you're not slowing down, I will put on the brakes and you will be horizontal as long as it takes, right?
Yeah.
So, I know that it sucks, and yet you're getting your resting in.
Yeah, yesterday I had a call in from work and I'm like, I've been on my couch in like supine position, just like trying to breathe.
Breathing is awesome, and I highly encourage it at all times. Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever possible. Whenever possible. Amazing. Be gentle with yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Part of this whole process is like, where am I being too hard? Where am I being too gentle? Where do I need more structure? Where do I need more support? Where do I need to ease up? And just be like, oh yeah, that was a shit thing. And so if it takes me 4 more days to do something, then it takes me 4 more days to do something. Right. Yeah. This is the long game, and we're not sprinting. We can mosey, we will get there. We will get there. But yeah, don't pull a muscle by trying to get there too fast.
Yeah.
TJ, are you with us enough to just check in and say hi? There he is.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
We're doing.
Say we're doing?
We're
I
doing.
like it. That's great. Well, February for me, it was challenging physically, for yeah, for pretty much the whole entire month. I was dealing with, I don't know what was going on with my neck.
Mhm.
It was just, yeah, it was a lump on my neck, and it started, yeah, there's other stuff going on, but I healed from that.
We're human first and then writers. And
Right.
if we're trying to be writers and like supersede this physical form, we're shit out of luck. 'Cause
Yeah.
we need our bodies.
Yeah. I mean, but one of the great revelations from that moment that I got was when the brain and the mind heals, the body also heals, or everything else heals. So where the mind goes, the body follows. So
Mm.
so that was one thing that I've heard that quote before, but to actually live it out in real time, that was the transformation piece for me. And so my writing, I was kind of disappointed. It took it kind of took like a backseat. Um, but I was like, okay, I need to rest. I need to heal. Because if I don't heal, I'm no good to this writing process. Um, so I had to live that out as much as I hated it. um, but now I'm back in the process of writing, being creative, and also I think what I'm going to do is to give myself a kiss, to keep it super simple. Uh, to not try to do too much. I forgot the young lady who was just speaking. You were just telling her
Brittany, yeah.
the 8 chapters. So in my mind, I was like the standard 10 chapters and this amount of words and so on and so forth. And I'm like, that's cool. But I want it to be me and not everybody else's, process or standard. And it comes out how it comes out, and the people who's supposed to read it, they'll read it. So just being okay with that, and that's it.
Love that. How does that feel?
What was that?
How does that feel? That sort of that revelation, that from here it feels so relaxed. It feels light and joyous. Looks like you're joyous. Am I on par at all?
Oh, absolutely. When it happened, I think the day I actually went to the gym because I've been working out every day since November 9th. I wanted to challenge myself. And so I went to the gym and I was doing an exercise for my upper body, and I did something and I realized, I'm like, man, I didn't feel any pain. And then I made the core. I'm like, oh my, because prior to that, I was having a deep conversation where I didn't have to do all the thinking. I didn't have to do all the processing. And somebody else, I had an equal mind that was conversing with me, and that helped me, so I didn't have to carry all the weight mentally.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, oh, now I need to elevate as far as who I have my mind around.
Mhm.
And so that part, it was just liberating. It's like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders, literally, because the neck is a gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or a bridge. I'm sorry.
Well, and it's a connection, right, between our minds and our bodies,
Yeah,
our heads, and our
yeah,
emotions, right?
yeah.
There's a lot of ways to interpret that. Um, I'm glad that you're back. I think this call's been really important for so many of us. So many of us had so many things going on, and I didn't know everybody was going through it. Didn't know we were going through it. So I'm gonna check in on people a little bit better, whether it's through a DM or just checking in on people, because I think that's part of what this process is. Um, and sometimes stepping back from the writing so that we can take care of the body and the life and all the things needs to happen too. Um, but I didn't know everybody was going through it. I was going through it too. And so I think it's just really powerful to share. Stacey, you got a thing? Is that a high five or a whatever it is, do it.
Yeah, it's just occurring to me as something that I think is important, and it correlates with a couple of different themes. One of them is your theme to remember to celebrate. And it's a very pervasive theme in all of your teachings. And I agree. I think that our mind looks for celebrations as proof of concept to what we're doing. And to address goal setting in that context, I like to use MTO, minimum, target, and outrageous. And, these days, maybe the minimum is, yeah, I can breathe today. Winning. And so that's your minimum. Like, if I can feel like I can be conscious enough to just not sleep in bed,
Yeah, survival. Yeah.
that's your minimum. That's your minimum. And so anything above that, you can celebrate. And then let's say your target might be to write, it might be 2 chapters. And that's your target. It's going to push you a little bit. It's a little less comfortable. You have to actually do something, but it's something that you find a reasonable achievement and you'll feel good about it.
Yep.
Then you're outrageous, which
Like
is
stretch goals. Yeah.
10 chapters.
Right.
If I feel great, I'm going to allocate the time to it. I'm going to put in 10 chapters. That's your outrageous. Now, you can have all 3 of those simultaneously as your goal. And not achieving one is no failure because you've got at least one success
Yeah.
that you can celebrate.
I love that.
So you always have something to celebrate. You have a minimum, a target, and an outrageous. And man, if you get that outrageous, almost break your arm patting yourself on the back. That is a big deal. If you get that target, you're still a champion. If you get that minimum, you did it. Today was still a win. And so
everybody's still here, right? You're all still working on your books. You showed up for the call, right? Whether that's minimum or target,
already.
That is rock star status, in my opinion. Stace, would you put this? I see a couple people like jotting this down. Would you share the MTO in the school community, and just because that's that place. It's our clearinghouse for ideas and knowledge. And so we're talking about debriefing. We're talking about setting goals for the next month, but even looking at that goal of like, here's the minimum, here's the target, and here's what smashing it out of the park would look like. It gives us some ways, and then whether it's applying it to the process, like I said to Brittany, just be aware of your process, right? That might be the minimum, but it might be the target, right? Smashing it out of the park of your process might be charting it. Some people have this color-coded chart and they're like, I just want to know where I am every day, but that's not required, right? There's different layers of showing up, and I really appreciate that, Stace. Thank you for sharing that. Because it's celebrating. We are so hard on ourselves. Negativity bias keeps us focused on the stuff that we didn't do, and it's kept our ancestors alive, and it's all good. But let's also recognize where we have grown, where we have learned. So we're at the beginning of a month. We are leaning in again to the process, flopping in, maybe. Leading doesn't have to be the whole thing. It doesn't always have to be hard. So I love that. If you haven't already, dance around with a done list instead of a to-do list. Still beginning of the month. Start just noting, hey, I went to the writer's call. Done. Hey, I took a nap. Done. Right? Whatever metrics, whatever wins, whatever feels like progress. I'll share mine if anybody wants to see, but it's been a game changer for me. So I'm going to let everybody go. Congratulations for showing up for yourself, your story, your process, and one another. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Share your
Bye
goals
all.
in the community, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye, y'all.